Single dad saves drunk boss from trouble. The next day, she didn't pretend to forget. For Amelia Sterling, power was everything. It was the language she spoke, the armor she wore, and the cold, hard currency that built her empire. But on the night her carefully built world came crashing down, her money was useless. Cornered in the echoing silence of an empty parking garage, with a glint of malice in a stranger's eyes, her power evaporated into pure, primal fear. To her, he was just an employee, a name on a payroll ledger she barely noticed. But in that moment, he became her savior. He was Michael, the single dad struggling to make rent, the man she never gave a second thought. And one act of astonishing courage would shatter every rule between them, breaking down the walls of class and profession to ignite a romance that could cost them everything. Before that night, Amelia Sterling and Michael Evans existed in entirely different universes that just happened to share the same address. Amelia's universe was the 50th floor, a sprawling corner office with panoramic views of a city that felt like it was hers. Her desk was a vast expanse of polished obsidian, and her days were a blur of high-stakes decisions, board meetings, and calculated power plays. As CEO of Sterling Industries, she'd inherited a formidable legacy from her father and doubled its value through sheer, unyielding will. To her employees, she was an enigma, brilliant, demanding, and as remote as a distant star. She knew profit margins, but not the names of her security staff. Her life was a fortress of wealth, but a lonely one. After the last employee had gone home, the silence of her penthouse apartment would scream at her, a hollow echo of a life filled with everything but real human connection. Trapped in a cycle of grief after losing her father, she hid her vulnerability from the world, not yet ready to heal. Down on the ground floor, Michael Evans's universe was one of quiet dignity, deep love, and constant financial pressure. As head of building security, he was competent, observant, and respected by his team. But his world truly revolved around his 7-year-old daughter, Lily. She was his sun, his moon, and all his stars. Every long shift, every extra hour, was for her for new school shoes, for art classes, for the small, bright apartment he worked so hard to make a home. To Michael, Amelia Sterling wasn't so much a person as a concept. He saw her most days a blur of expensive perfume and tailored suits, her expression always locked in a mask of intense focus. She was the untouchable queen in the glass castle, a symbol of a world so far removed from his own, it might as well have been on another planet. He punched in, did his job, and punched out, his thoughts immediately turning to Lily and what they'd have for dinner. He never imagined their worlds could, or even would, collide. It all changed on a cold, rain-slicked Tuesday. Amelia had been at a charity gala she dreaded attending. She smiled. She shook hands. She wrote a check with enough zeros to make headlines, and all she felt was empty. She left late and dismissed her driver, wanting a few moments alone to walk to her private garage. It was a rare, impulsive decision, a mistake. As she entered the dimly lit garage, the celebratory buzz of the evening faded into an unnerving silence. That's when she saw them, 2 men, stepping out from behind a concrete pillar. Their intentions were clear in their predatory smiles. Panic, cold and sharp, pierced through her composure. For the first time in years, Amelia Sterling wasn't in control. Suddenly, a calm, authoritative voice cut through the tension. "Everything all right here, Miss Sterling?" It was Michael. He was doing a final patrol. He hadn't seen the men at first, but he had seen the slight hesitation in her step, the flicker of fear on her face. His instincts screamed that something was wrong. The men turned. "This doesn't concern you, buddy. Walk away." Michael didn't walk away. He positioned himself slightly in front of Amelia, a solid, reassuring presence. "I believe it does," he said, his voice dropping, losing its polite tone for a hard, non-negotiable edge. "This is private property. I'm going to have to ask you to leave." The situation escalated quickly. One of the men lunged, but Michael was ready. He moved with a swift, practiced efficiency that was breathtaking. It was over in a minute, the two men scrambling away into the night. The adrenaline faded, leaving only the sound of their ragged breaths. Amelia leaned against her car, her legs trembling. Michael stood a few feet away, scanning the garage to ensure the threat was gone. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice soft now and full of genuine concern. She could only nod, words failing her. He was no longer just her employee. In that moment, he was her protector. As she looked at him, truly looked at him for the first time, she didn't see a security guard. She saw a man of quiet strength and profound kindness. And in his eyes, she saw a reflection of her own raw vulnerability. The next morning, the predictable calm of Sterling Industries felt charged with an unspoken energy. The power dynamic, once so clear, was now hopelessly blurred. Amelia sat in her office, staring out at the skyline, but her mind was in the parking garage. She summoned him to her office. When he walked in, the massive room suddenly felt small. "Michael," she began, her voice more formal than she intended, "I wanted to properly thank you for last night. What you did was incredibly brave." She slid an envelope across her desk. "This is a substantial bonus. Please, accept it as a token of my gratitude." Michael looked at the envelope, then back at her. A faint, almost sad smile touched his lips. "Miss Sterling, I appreciate it. I really do. But I can't accept it." Amelia was stunned. "Why not? You deserve it." "Last night wasn't about money," he said simply. "I was just making sure you were safe. That's all. Seeing you get into your car unharmed was all the bonus I needed." He gently pushed the envelope back toward her. His refusal was a quiet revelation. In a world where everyone wanted something from her, here was a man who operated on a different code. His integrity intrigued her more than any business deal ever had. His refusal to take the money became an invisible thread connecting them. Amelia started seeing Michael. She saw him speaking kindly to the cleaning staff, helping an elderly visitor, and greeting Lily with a radiant smile when he picked her up from the building's daycare. She saw the man, not the uniform. Their interactions became more frequent, more personal. It started with her greeting him by name. Soon, it was stolen conversations by the elevators. She asked about Lily. He spoke of his daughter with a light in his eyes that softened his entire face, telling her about their weekend trips to the park and his constant worry about providing for her. Emboldened, Amelia found herself sharing things she'd never told anyone. One late evening, they found themselves alone in the lobby. "My father built this company," she confessed, her voice barely a whisper. "Ever since he died, I feel like I'm trying to live up to a ghost. I'm surrounded by people all day, but I've never felt more alone." Michael just listened, his expression full of an empathy she didn't realize she was starving for. He didn't offer platitudes. He simply said, "My wife passed away 3 years ago. For a long time, the silence was the loudest thing in the house. Lily, she's the one who taught me how to hear the music again." In that shared moment of grief, they were no longer a CEO and her security chief. They were just Amelia and Michael, two souls who understood loss. These secret conversations became their sanctuary, where the forbidden connection between them began to blossom. The true turning point came a few weeks later. Michael got a frantic call while on duty. Lily had had a severe asthma attack at school and was being rushed to the city hospital. He was beside himself, torn between his job and his daughter. He was explaining the situation to his second in command when Amelia stepped out of the elevator. Seeing the panic on his face, she immediately walked over. "Michael, what is it?" he explained in a rushed, choked voice. The CEO vanished, replaced by a woman of action and compassion. "Go," she said, her voice firm but kind. "Don't even think about it. I'll handle your shift cover." She then placed a hand on his arm. "Which hospital?" he told her. Before he could even get out the door, she was on her phone. "Dr. Matthews, it's Amelia Sterling." I need the best pediatric pulmonologist you have at City General's ER now, for a little girl named Lily Evans. When Michael arrived at the hospital, terrified, he found that Lily was already being seen by the top specialist in the state. A private room was being prepared. He knew, without a doubt, this was Amelia's doing. Later that night, she showed up, not in a power suit, but in jeans and a sweater. She brought coloring books for Lily and a container of warm soup for him. She didn't come as his boss. She came as a friend. He had saved her from physical danger. Now, she had used her power to save the most precious person in his world. The scales were balanced. After Lily recovered, the bond between Amelia and Michael deepened into something undeniable. The professional pretense was gone, replaced by a magnetic pull they hadn't dared to act on. The risk was enormous, her position, his job, the scandal. The moment came one evening, after Amelia insisted he and Lily join her for a quiet dinner at her penthouse. After Lily had fallen asleep on the plush sofa, Michael and Amelia stood on the balcony, looking out at the glittering city. "Thank you, Amelia," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "for what you did for Lily, for all of this." "You don't have to thank me," she replied, turning to face him. The space between them was electric. "You showed me what real kindness and strength look like. That's worth more than anything I did." He reached out, his hand gently cupping her cheek. His touch was warm, hesitant, yet full of certainty. "You're not the person I thought you were," he whispered. "Neither are you," she breathed. And then he closed the distance. The kiss was the culmination of every stolen glance, every shared secret, every moment of vulnerability. It was passionate, desperate, and utterly forbidden. In that moment, they were no longer boss and employee, wealthy and struggling. They were just two people finding a home in each other, a love that felt both incredibly right and dangerously wrong. Their story is a testament to how a single moment can change everything. But what happens when a secret romance like this gets out? What would you risk for a love that society says is off limits? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you believe in the power of kindness, make sure to subscribe for more stories that touch the heart. A secret like that, within the glass walls of Sterling Industries, was a ticking time bomb. It was a single, carelessly left open office door and a lingering goodnight kiss that brought their private world crashing down. A jealous junior executive saw them, and he saw an opportunity. The fallout was swift and brutal. An anonymous tip was sent to the board and a notorious gossip columnist. The headline was sensational. CEO Amelia Sterling's power play, a bedroom bonus for her security guard? The article painted Amelia as a predator and Michael as an opportunist. Sterling Industries' stock dipped. The board called an emergency meeting. The office, once a place of respect, became thick with whispers and stares. Michael was immediately placed on administrative leave, a corporate euphemism for exile. Colleagues who had been friendly now avoided his gaze. For Amelia, the attack was more personal. The board, men who had worked with her father, questioned her leadership and her judgment. They saw their relationship not as a matter of the heart, but as a catastrophic liability. The pressure culminated in a formal meeting. The board's ultimatum was cold. End the relationship with Michael immediately and publicly. Fire him. If she refused, they would vote her out as CEO. It was a choice between her birthright and the man she loved. Her father's legacy on one side, on the other, a quiet, kind man, and his daughter, who had shown her a life beyond balance sheets. That same evening, Michael came to see her, his face etched with pain. "Amelia, I can't let you lose your company because of me," he said. "I'll resign. I'll disappear. We can just let them win." He was offering her an out, ready to sacrifice his own happiness to protect hers. In that moment of his selflessness, Amelia's choice became crystal clear. They wanted her to choose power over love. They wanted her to go back to being the cold, isolated woman she was before that night in the parking garage. But that woman was gone. Michael hadn't just saved her from a physical threat, he had saved her from a life of gilded loneliness. Giving him up meant losing her own soul. The next day, Amelia walked into the boardroom. The air was thick with tension. The board sat like a tribunal, expecting her to surrender. They weren't prepared for a revolution. "I have made my decision," she began, her voice ringing with newfound strength. "I will not be ending my relationship with Michael Evans, and he will be reinstated to his position effective immediately." A murmur of disbelief rippled through the room. The chairman started to speak, but she held up a hand. "For years, I have run this company according to my father's principles: strength, ambition, and profit. I honored his legacy, and I exceeded every financial goal. But I missed the most important lesson. This company isn't just numbers on a page, it's people." She looked each board member in the eye. "Michael Evans showed me that kindness isn't a weakness, it's the ultimate strength. When we create a culture of trust and psychological safety, our teams are more engaged and innovative. We've been so focused on the bottom line that we've forgotten about the human line." She wasn't just defending her love. She was presenting a new vision for the company, proposing new initiatives for employee wellness and support. She wasn't asking for permission. She was leading. In the end, they saw what she saw. Not a scandal, but a transformation. Her position was secure. But the story doesn't end there. It ends months later, on a sunny Saturday in a public park. Amelia is on a picnic blanket, laughing as Michael pushes a giggling Lily on a swing. She is no longer just Amelia Sterling, CEO. She is Amelia, a woman in love. He is no longer just her employee. He is her partner. Their love was no longer forbidden. It was their foundation. They had faced the judgment of the world and chosen each other. Their story became a quiet legend within the company, a reminder that the most beautiful love stories can begin with a simple, unexpected act of kindness.